So, are we all ready? You guys all ready?
Mm-hmm.
To begin? 6 o'clock, isn't it? Okay. And I'm assuming we don't have any comments from our massive public tonight, correct? All right then. Then I will entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved. I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Okay, now, do you have any questions for administrators or anybody in the consent agenda? Do you have any questions on any of the reports? I think, Kim, just one thing I want us to do, I mentioned this one other time, is when we're working on the budget line, when you get to that last line, I know it says voting on the, but say, I would like it to say, school town meeting and budget meeting and town meeting, so that people understand that that is the town meeting.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the, those are the words I used to, is town meeting, not budget meeting, that,
And I did, on the copy that, before,
No.
I heard that you had wanted that, so I
Okay.
changed that last one, and I also put a notation that there was, that the budget validation is no longer, that this is
Mhm.
your town voting for the school, so I made more of a
Yeah.
paragraph for that last day, so.
yeah. And I'm also wondering if, well, we'll talk about that when we get over there to the budget line.
Okay, yeah,
Something
it's right
else to
here.
go with that, yeah.
Okay.
That was the only thing I noticed. I know Kevin had emailed some concerns that he had, and I think those have been addressed already from the people.
There were several, and Kevin's great. He was emailing right up till probably about 5 minutes ago. He's still at an airport, and we're gonna see if we can beam him in when he's ready to go live with us. And I gave the particular questions I fielded, as well as Dr. Young and Mike Corey. And some of those questions are also embedded into some of our updates on some data and other pieces here that Kevin kind of prompted us to think about, so I've added them into my comments.
Anybody else have any questions or anything about any of the reports?
I had questions, but they're answered.
Okay. All right, then, let's go on to progress monitoring reports.
Okay, that would be the MEA, LEA, and math results. If you remember, last month we had the science results for the MEA, and Acton did quite well, as did most schools in the state. Kids in Maine seem to fare pretty well with science. The MEA, ELA, and math results were provided to us on December 5th, a week ago Monday. And the scores across the board are relatively in line with other schools our size of similar demographics. I just kind of looked across the state to see how Maine kids are doing and how did our Acton kids do. And we relatively compare well with other towns our size of like demographic. I will say that I think we have work to do. This is last year's information. And the year before that, I think it was last year that they used the smarter balance. I'll let Dr. Young comment maybe a little more in depth to some of this information that I provided to you, but we're once again in a place where we can't compare apples to apples, because the test last year was different than the year before. So all we can do is really look at how well are our kids doing against our standards, and how well are they doing compared to other kids in the state of Maine. But we really can't say how well they did compared to a cohort last year. We can't do that this year. My hope is with new curriculum initiatives that we have in Acton and the good work we've been doing on proficiency-based learning, as long as the main educational assessments are in line with national standards that have been adopted by every town in the state of Maine, then I believe in the future our kids will fare well. This information has not made it to the cohort level, meaning I have not sat with Patty and her team to discuss how well did our third graders do last year. It's pretty fresh information. The plan moving forward is to give this data as I gave it to you tonight in the weekly update to the staff, and then meet with each cohort as I do once a week, and really look at this and talk about areas where we could probably improve. Francine's broken this down by almost at the individual level, of course, without names on it. And this would be last year's third graders and last year's fourth graders and last year's fifth graders. So these are the kids that have moved up 1 year. With that, you have the information in front of you that's listed as well below, below, at, or at state average, or above. And that's kind of how you read it. And there's some anecdotal information that Francine added at the very end of this document as well. And we also gave Kevin much more in-depth information, which I know you have already sent to him.
I think it was interesting, there was a piece in Portland Press Herald about this,
Yeah.
and I think it's interesting to look at the demographics and see that the wealthy areas like Cape Elizabeth and Falmouth and York and all those, they're always higher, because they spend more, I guess. I don't know what the difference is. And I think they probably have a lot less of the lower income families in those areas too. I think that makes a difference too, that the kids have more opportunities before they even get to school and outside of school, which translates into helping them with their schoolwork as well. But it was interesting to look at that and see how the communities that you know are what we consider well-to-do communities and well-to-do systems. Their ratings are higher than other ones that have a more mixed population of people.
If you guys have any questions about the data, I think either Francine or I are in a pretty good place to answer that.
Well, I just hate to see the well below.
I know.
We all do.
Yeah. But it's a hard comparison, and things have changed with the curriculum, but I also think, this is considered this was at the end of the year? When do they take that?
I think in March.
No, I was thinking if that was the beginning of the year, you wouldn't see. Now, those people will be tested again in March,
Mhm.
so
It'll be
that's when we'll know.
It'll be different
better.
groups, though. It'll be this year.
Yeah, but you're gonna
right.
follow the fourth to
Yes,
the fifth.
exactly. Yep.
So, I
Yep,
mean,
we can
we'll see
compare.
how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be the idea. It'd be great to trend them over years, wouldn't it, on one exam?
Right, but I know.
But they keep changing the exams. So,
Kind of a moving target, right?
Yeah.
Makes it a little difficult.
It was very good when they had the MEA, and you just had the MEA, and you knew it's basically the same test here.
Yep.
I don't
Okay.
know. Our
anything-
data guy isn't here to really ask the questions.
Didn't you read the email?
He
Well,
did.
I read.
Yes.
He had several questions. See if I can see it.
But you probably talked to him already
Yeah.
about it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
As a
okay.
matter of fact, Dr. Young, I gave it to her and she put together a really good answer to each question. And then I kind of augmented some of that directly to him with my thoughts on that as well, about some things we may do internally. But he too agrees that having different assessments is really shooting at a moving target, which is probably the biggest issue. But that can settle, then I think we're gonna be in pretty good shape.
Now, how exactly is this test done? On the computer?
How was it done here last year? Because the Smarter Balance, I was at the high school level last year, and we did ours, which is the SAT, which was the last pen and paper SAT we'll have to do, and it was gonna move to computer this year. I don't know how the elementary grades did this last year. I guess Patty would be.
I'm pretty sure they did them on computer.
On computer, they probably should have. Makes sense. Yeah.
And then the challenge is that some answers have to be typed in, you know, there's a lot of
I mean, a
challenges
third
with it.
grade?
Why my kids do typing club once a week in first grade,
Mhm.
to get them used to it. So.
Can't imagine. Third grade typing.
Anything else under progress monitoring?
So what I will be able to do then, after working with the cohorts and looking at achievement data locally, how are our kids progressing with the standards here? And when we look at our NWEA spring scores, as that comes forward in the spring, I'll be able to report out to you by the end of the year kind of what our plan will be to raise achievement in some sort of white paper or written report that we'll have a plan. If we're here, here's how we're gonna get to here.
You
I
know-
need to work with the teams to figure that out.
I know you say you're looking at the state average, but what about if we looked at how the Shapley or Massabesic, Shapley people did, or
In Sanford.
Lebanon, you know, but really the local ones around us, how are they comparing?
Mm-hmm,
You know, is it just, it was a horrible test?
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When you really see,
They have a lot more.
instead of just looking at the
Yes.
state, I
Yeah.
don't wanna look at the state, cause then you get the skewed.
Yep.
But if you look at the other local communities, can we see how we fared?
Yeah, we can. Matter of fact, that's public information, and that's where I got all the other schools' information by going on the MDOE website. Was able to make a rough comparison. I didn't write anything down for tonight to be
Yeah,
able
but
to
I'd
say
just
how,
like to
yeah.
know, was it
Sure.
the test more so, or something?
Actually, I'll defer to Dr.
Yeah.
Young for a moment. In your group of curriculum coordinator level, as I have the superintendent's group, you have a curriculum coordinator. Do these conversations come up in the York County group with all the communities that surround us?
Right, the focus has been more on the way policy is worded regarding some definitions within the assessment wording themselves, as in who's going to be taking them and things like that. We haven't really discussed the content of it or the scores that were generated this first round. But
Mm.
I've been encouraged to ask more questions, so I can certainly ask
Yeah.
about that.
I would think every community in York County, right now, if they have a school committee meeting this week, is probably looking at this data because it was just released. So I imagine that would be a hot topic at the curriculum coordinator level.
Anything else under progress monitoring? If not, let's move on to committee reports, and we'll start with the long-range planning committee.
Well, if you wanna, we didn't meet tonight, we will meet in January, but, I think the fire panel you can bring up.
Yep, the fire panel, the replacement. Mike and I met with Chief Steve Johnson from the fire department. He reviewed the plans and gave us the approval to move forward with them. And we've scheduled with Protection One to install the system over Christmas vacation. So we're moving ahead with that. The fire inspection report is under new business.
Yeah, I was glad to see that. Is he gonna come back and do another run-through, say, in March or something, just to
I
see
would
how we
ex-
did?
I would expect so, and, we, the fire inspection report that we received, there's gonna be a second report attached to it. He still had some stuff that he was gonna research
Okay.
beyond what he gave us for the initial report, so there'll be more information coming from his office.
His inspection of our building.
Yes.
Okay, how about the policy committee? And for the policy committee, we have a couple of things. We have a second reading on the marijuana policy.
Yeah. And then first read on the 504 policies, but those were to update.
Those are all updates, yeah.
Update.
I think that's the only one we have to vote on that's new in this packet,
The marijuana.
is the marijuana one, correct,
Yeah,
for a
Correct.
second? Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, so, let's start with that one. And I will look for approval of, which would be adoption, of NEPN NSBA code JLCDA, which is medical marijuana in schools. And I would look for a motion to accept this policy or adopt, which means adopt it as a second reading.
I'll make the motion to adopt the marijuana policy, and that's not to have kids smoking it here. Has to do with
It's-
medical marijuana, just so everyone knows.
Oh,
Did you know that?
That goes for the board too, Jeanette.
I just hate seeing it there. It says marijuana policy.
I'll second it.
Okay, and maybe a little bit of an explanation about actually how this policy
You bet.
actually works would
You
be
bet.
helpful
I
for
can.
people that are listening.
You
and
bet. I think it needs
Just thinking
to.
we're gonna have medical marijuana.
I know, it just
administered.
sounds
We,
bad.
we gave this a hearty review last month, and it's the medical marijuana policy in schools. And basically, every school, or LEA, school department, union, RSU, SAD has to have a policy on students who may have some sort of medical condition that requires through doctor's prescription medical marijuana. In a nutshell, our policy is very similar to many others that was recommended by Maine School Management, that first of all, the marijuana itself will never be housed at the school. It has to come in with the parent. It can be a non-smokable form, so I guess that would be pill form or some other kind of form other than smokable. The parent would bring that in, and the dispatch of that medicine to the student would be done from parent to the child, or guardian to the child, in a private setting outside of the nurse's office. The nurse isn't involved in this, and we decided a private setting is defined as the front office space, and that an administrator would be present during that time. So if I could theorize a situation, a student who might have epilepsy, that might have a medical marijuana as a prescription that works, and that student needed it at noontime every day, that parent would need to bring it, sign in, state their reason for being here, meet with myself and the student, have that happen, and then they leave and nothing stays at school. That's pretty much what this policy outlines.
And we have no one right now using this.
We have no one that's requested. That's, thank you for bringing that up. It's actually in policy that you need to meet with me prior to this even happening. So if you have a student, or anybody in the community has a student, that this is the case, they need to make an appointment with me, and we'll meet, and we'll go through this policy.
So we're just
yeah,
doing this proactively.
You bet.
Right.
Yeah, we have to have it on the books by this year.
Yeah, because the state requires it, so, yeah. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we adopt this policy. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor? 4-0. Now, the remainder of the policies that we have in the package, what I would like to do is to just go through these with you and just list the titles of the policies themselves, because anybody can look these up online if they want to. But these are not new policies, these are just updated. We're trying to update all the policies. Some of them are 10 or more years old since they've really been looked at. And so just bringing them up to date a little bit if necessary, and just renewing them, and then they can be marked as, what do you call it?
updated.
Updated, yeah, as updated. So those policies are harassment and sexual harassment of school employees. Team meetings, section 504, there are a few things under section 504. Some forms have been added to those that are required now by the state. By the government, I should say. I gotta turn these because I'm doing this, that's 504. Okay. The referral form,
It's 11 pages,
that's
so
all
this
there.
one's big.
Yeah, that's a long one. But it's all updates and things, some forms that have been added to comply with state requirements.
May I add a little more to that?
Do that.
Thank you. Kudos to Jeanette and Kevin on the policy committee for meeting on a regular schedule and going through policies, and thank you to Kim for keeping us organized. One of the things that Jeanette and Kevin and I agreed upon in bringing to the full school committee and revising policies is we will look at policies that are 10 years old or older. This falls into the 10 years old or older. So we figured if a decade's gone by and we haven't reviewed it, we should probably look at it. Good thing, because some language has changed. We've updated the language to stay in compliance, and we've added some new material that keeps us in compliance under Section 504, which is actually Civil Rights Act. Section 504 of Civil Rights is kind of a special education law, and it's very formal in regards to assessing a student, having a team agree whether the student fits under 504, and then the accommodations to that student's learning environment once a plan is developed under 504. So we went through that last month with the 504 coordinator here at Acton Elementary School, who is Margaret Ligotti. She is our social worker, and she did a great job with this. One of the reasons she could do a great job with this is because Rachel Driscoll, who did it the year before Margaret joining us, did a great job with it and put most of these forms together, and we're using these, but yet they weren't in policy, so it made sense to bring these in as an update. And Rachel created many of them under the auspices of Drummond and Woodsum, who put on a couple of day conference for 504 coordinators. She went to that last year and pulled most of this together. So there's your history on it. So it was well done, and I recommend through the policy committee that we adopt this work because it was well done. Take them as a block, and then I'll hand them over to Kim to update the policy book that remains in central office, and we'll put them live on the web for anybody to research. Thank you.
Okay, so that's coming from the policy committee. Jeanette, you want to make a motion on that?
Yep, I make a motion that we update ACE E1, 11 pages, 504, section 504.
And ACAB.
Well, the whole, right,
You could do it
Yeah.
together.
The whole thing.
the whole
yeah.
thing. I mean, it is 11 pages long, so.
No, but ACAB is the harassment
That's
one.
the-
Oh, that, oh,
Yeah.
that's right, it is, yeah,
Yeah.
harassment, right.
Yeah.
That's only one page.
So that's a motion on the floor.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the updates on our 504 policy and also on the sexual harassment policy. Any further discussion on those?
One last comment.
Yeah.
I found a lot of names in policy, and we made a real commitment to remove the names and put in titles.
Yep.
They go back several superintendents,
Right.
actually. If you go back 10 years, there's
That's
some names
right.
that, right. So we said, and where we took out a name, we just put in the word superintendent. So we're going by title, not name, and that was noted. And we'll do that moving forward.
That makes
Good.
sense. All those in favor of the motion then? 4 no, okay. I just lose my agenda in the shuffle.
Looking for your agenda.
What's your rule?
I said I always lose my agenda in the shuffle.
Here, I got an
So
extra one for you right here.
Oh,
We need to pick it up right
Yeah.
there.
722.
Yeah, okay, 722 is superintendent permission to revise policy file numbers.
Right, thank you. I discovered in looking through the policies that some of our policies are out of sync by file number. You just saw ACE 1, for example. As I went through, and I have a very comprehensive spreadsheet that Kim produces, well done, there are a few that are out of sync. So instead of going to the policy committee every time I wanted to reorder something that made sense so it would flow in order, if you give me blanket permission for just this year working with the policy committee, I'll renumber these so that they flow in order, and it'll just be more succinct on that spreadsheet.
You mean so they're alphabetical?
It's not just alphabetical, it's certain policies fit under certain letters. For example, and I can't without the book in
Yeah.
front of me, instruction might be K,
Yeah,
K,
right,
whatever.
right.
So I need to kind of honor that system, but we just added a few forms, so now there's our documents.
Yep.
And I just need to be able to go in, give those the right code, put the revision date on, and then they're ready to go. So if you give me permission to revise the file number, Kim and I can do that work, so I don't have to bring it to committee every time I want to change a file number. Because technically, it might be changing policy, because it is just that little file number. It's not changing the
Yeah.
wording in the policy.
No, but if you bring it up to the policy subcommittee, then.
Correct.
bring it.
They would be in, they would definitely be in the know of it every time we
Now,
made a change.
just one other thing, I don't know if it'll make it easier, but when you have the R
Yeah,
attachment or any other form or whatever, so the R is like a procedure, could you even have like the color coded almost? So white would be the policy, you'd have maybe pink as the I don't know, and yellow as a form, the procedure a different color, I don't know, and then
You mean
you,
the
then you'd be
paper
able, yeah, because when
itself?
it goes in the book, you'd be
Good.
able to really see where the
Oh, in the
policy
book you
ends, because a
mean.
policy
Yeah.
could be 20 pages, and you're like looking through it, but if it's color coded, I don't know, I know I saw a book like that one time, and I was like, wow, that was really organized.
I mean, the book I have in
Yeah.
my room,
Right.
yeah, is about this thick.
You
Yeah.
want colored pages.
I can make a recommendation to that, because you know what, I think that's a great idea. For the one hard copy we have here, instead of going back in time, I would recommend moving forward as we do this.
I was gonna say,
New
these
ones.
would be easy to do.
That's what I'm
Because we
saying,
gotta print 'em
going
anyway.
forward,
Yeah,
and then you'd be
Oh,
able
great
to
idea.
see it right off the bat,
absolutely. It would stand right out that the yellow ones are forms and the white ones are policy.
yeah.
Because we're gonna go through all the
I don't know.
decade-old
Think
ones.
about
Most
also.
of
it.
these are forms, so I'll just make them a different color.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You know,
Just-
and
Especially
there's
on
only
this
two
504.
policies really, well, three policies, but,
Yeah.
and then the forms, all the 504 forms I can make all.
Well, don't we need a form for that medical marijuana? You must have to sign something, so wouldn't that be in there too?
It would be, we don't have the
Right.
adjunct piece to that, but
Yeah.
when we do, it would. It would
Yeah.
go in as an R form that we'd introduce to the committee.
Yeah. Just think about it, you don't have to.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I could just make it like a tan color, or, you know, just
Right.
something a little different.
Yeah.
I think Mary would like hot pink. You have hot pink.
I like pink and orange for some reason, I don't know
Oh, I
why.
like orange.
Okay, let's move on then to number 8, unfinished business.
What's that gonna cost?
We've already taken care of 8.1, which is the second read. And now we're at our budget timeline.
It's called organization.
The wording that you asked about is right on
I'm trying to
the
find
last
papers.
piece.
It's
We'll
really-
borrow mine, that's fine.
I can't.
No, it's in here somewhere. It's in Kim's report, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Because I was looking at it this afternoon.
This here? No.
I had it, I don't know.
This is what I'm looking at, this right here.
Yeah.
Kim's report has the, at the end of her report, she has the budget timeline.
So where it says on, for May 11th, public hearing on the school budget, vote on all 12 articles of the school budget. This year, the town voted not to have a ballot vote 10 days later. This is the only voting date for the school budget.
That's
Do you want
good.
me to reword that?
No, that's good.
Yeah, I just.
Reworded
I-
saying what?
I just think, yeah,
Oh, the public hearing in parentheses, school town meeting?
yes, that's what I think.
Okay.
Public hearing, parentheses, school town meeting,
No
so
problem.
that people really understand that that is
Sure.
the school town meeting.
But yeah, the added information is good.
Okay.
And we may want to schedule a budget explanation night sometime a week or so before that,
Yep.
for anybody that wants to come and kind of go through a detailed PowerPoint.
You bet.
So that if anybody wants to have more information on it before they come that night, so that they won't be coming that night for the first time and picking up a budget and then booklet and then asking all the questions. So maybe we could just put in some kind of a informational only meeting, informational explanation.
Well-
We'll be sure to publish, because I think we need to do, I think we need to be sure that we do a lot of publicity for our budget,
Yeah.
especially where it's, the format for us has changed this year.
Calendars.
I'm looking at the calendar for May.
Yeah.
Would you want to do that prior to the regular school committee meeting or after the regular school committee meeting on the 9th sometime?
I would do
Or move the school
that.
committee
We could do
meeting?
that.
I would
We're
say
together
school
anyway.
committee meeting at 6 and put the public hearing at 7.
Sure.
Yeah,
Does that work for you
Okay.
guys?
Yeah.
that sounds good.
And then we'll roll with it 2 days later on the 11th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the budget books and everything will be done.
They'll be all
before
done by
that.
then.
Yeah, they'll be done
And,
before that, so.
And also there'll be stuff in the Smart Shopper before that and some other,
And at that point too, I mean, even though the Warren and Finance Committee, I mean, I have it scheduled for them to deliberate on the 11th. How that works for them, I'm not sure, but they still have quite a few weeks that, in between, if that
Yeah.
11th doesn't work, and then we could always go to their meeting as well to answer any questions.
Oh,
that
you're
we
talking
do.
about April
Yeah, about
11th,
April
though.
11th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost a month before.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I would call it informational meeting and
Yeah.
Q&A.
Yeah.
in case
Yeah.
people-
Yeah.
Yep.
Good news. Okay.
Okay.
Kim, will you add that to the outline that we created, and I put it in the calendar, and we'll put it on the school calendar once this is voted in? Okay.
Okay, then, anybody have any questions about the budget outline, the timeline?
I would try to get it on one page if you're gonna be posting this. Squeeze it all in somehow.
Squish,
I can do that.
you can.
You know, 8
Yeah.
font.
Yeah.
Take it off letterhead, it'll probably fit.
Well, yeah, if I take off the
Yeah,
head,
you'll be
I
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
take out the opposite spaces and stuff. Well, in December, pretty much I could take December out.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Just for
Okay.
posting purposes.
Do we need to approve the budget timeline?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I'll look for a motion to approve the budget timeline as printed and amended.
I'll, make that motion. How about that?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and forwarded to accept the school budget timeline as printed, and with a couple of minor changes to be sure that it shows that it is the school town meeting, and also to add an informational date of a couple of days before the...
May 9th.
May 9th, on May 9th.
Do we need a time on these?
Not yet.
Okay.
We talked about last time, I think we said we kind of would like to do the same thing this time as, when we get into budget season, is have the board meet at 5 o'clock, like we did last year, and then have the budget meeting start at 6. So that way we can double our efforts on board night. Okay, all those in favor? 4-0. Okay, new business, fire inspection report, we've gone over that somewhat, is there anything else that we want to add to that, Andy?
No, basically, John gave me a slot, at the early release day last week. Kind of met and reviewed some of the information with the staff so that they were aware of some of the issues that were contained in the report. The other thing that may have a budget impact is the basement and the kitchen area. And some of the information that will dictate what we budget is gonna be forthcoming in his next report. He brought in another gentleman that also looked at it. He wanted to get a second opinion on it because our building, that section of the building was built in 1992, which was, when it was built, it was up to code. Now it's not, so we've gotta come up with a plan to address that. So that's basically where it's at. So there were a few safety issues listed in the report that were taken care of. That's about it. And when I get the rest of the report, I'll attach it. If it should be here maybe by next month's meeting, or if it's not, the following month, once we receive it. I'll forward it to you the same way that we did with this one, so that everyone's aware.
Okay. Okay, Sanford High School update. The Acton board met with the Sanford board a week or so ago, and had a very good meeting with their board. I thought they explained a lot to us about how the new high school is going to be set up, and spoke very highly of our Acton students and that they acclimate very well. I think they'll really, even with the new system that Amanda and I were talking about it before, I think with the new system of being in certain areas of common interest, that they'll even fit in even better, I think. They'll find their niche where they really need to be.
I was wondering if Francine got a hold, the other woman got a hold of Francine, the
Have you
coordinator.
heard from their,
I haven't heard from
the
them
curriculum
yet.
coordinator?
No, I haven't.
We gotta get that
But they just
connection.
had their information released too at the same time,
Mhm.
so we can.
Right.
This
I
is
think
in,
I
re-
can
yeah.
do a comparison of
Well,
our scores.
No, no,
Well,
has nothing
no,
to do with
what
that,
was
just to
really-
make a contact,
Yeah,
just to,
she's supposed
she's a
to
resource. She would be a good resource.
supposed to contact you because what we're trying to do is to be sure how the transition, especially where we're advancing in PBL and those kinds of things. She's supposed to be in touch with you so that,
I haven't yet.
and
Okay.
she said
She'll reach out
she
to
even
you.
offered
I
to
can
come
help
up
with
and visit with you.
Right, she
there
wanted
at
the
school.
What's
face-to-face.
her name? Oh, okay.
I'd have to look at their website. David
Theodardis.
Theodardis, he's on vacation this week. So when he gets back, I'll ask him if he wants to forward any and all information, because that's already kind of gone back and forth. I'm not sure quite, maybe it hasn't made it to her yet.
I know
Yeah.
earlier, a few meetings ago, we talked about that, I
8-10
spoke to
days ago.
someone, the name Diane is what's stuck in my head,
A
but
week
that doesn't
ago?
seem right.
Yeah.
And she said that they didn't have their scores back yet because they had just finished their
Right.
testing the week
Right.
before.
So one of the things we want to do a partnership with Sanford is we are moving fairly progressively and well with proficiency-based learning. And at our joint school committee meeting, one of the questions I posed is Sanford gonna be in a position to understand what our kids know and are able to do? More so with next year's, not next year's freshmen, but this year's seventh graders. When they become freshmen, you know, our kids are gonna be a little more in the driver's seat around their own learning in a standards-based world. And one of my questions of Sanford is, are you ready for that? Was pretty much how I couched it, and they said, indeed. So we wanna make sure that your counterpart in Sanford and you have a professional relationship. And I really encourage them to really look at Mastery Connect and come up here and meet with some of our kids, so that placement, that freshman year placement at Sanford High School is well articulated and that kids get into the right classes for their level of learning. So we're still a year out, but the new high school, September of 2018,
18.
but we should start those connections, immediately.
But also to help them with their 7th and 8th grade, to see how their 7th and 8th graders. You got the name?
Bernie's Brown.
Bernice, yeah,
There we
that's her
go.
name, Bernice. Yeah. Because she still had Rachel's name on her.
Right, she was saying Rachel, I
She
meant,
was
oh,
saying
no,
Rachel,
hold on.
so. Anybody else have anything they want to add about the Sanford visit?
We'd like to have them come here in the spring,
Yes.
then we'll extend that offer to them through the committee,
Mhm.
right? Okay. And they'd like us to visit the site at some point too.
Yeah.
That's up to, whenever your schedules
Yeah,
allow,
I'd
but they
like to
open
go.
up
But
that
just so
information.
anyone wants
Yeah.
to know, they have drones going over
Yeah.
the overhead and stuff and reporting back on the construction. So you could go to the school website and watch.
I've
Cool.
watched a lot of them, it's
Yeah.
pretty neat.
But you can go down and meet them on Mondays at 2:30?
Well, it was just
And
that
they
Monday
take-
the
Just that
6th.
Oh,
Yeah,
just that one
yeah.
time?
And then
Oh.
they'll have another one, but I
Yeah,
don't know when.
Right.
As the construction really takes hold, that'd be the time to go down. There's still a
Right.
lot of brick and mortar right now. There's
Yeah.
places there isn't even brick
Holes
and
in the
mortar.
ground, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the drones do a good job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would encourage people in the community to go online to the Sanford School website and to see what's happening with that new school, because it's going to be really something else.
But that was something they talked about, that they were just going to begin for us, right? I mean,
Well, the other
We
thing
weren't
is, like, they have what is it called, like a,
Performing arts building?
performing arts,
Yeah.
and they need people on the committee, parents and whatever, and anyone in Acton who's interested, who might have children going up there, that would be a good committee for them
Yeah.
to be on, because they're
Exactly.
figuring out how they're gonna do that, what do they need.
They
You know, it's
had
a big committee.
multiple committees that they needed
They need
parents
people.
or
Yeah.
community members to join.
They do.
Yeah.
I brought to the PTG the parent position on their accreditation program for
Oh,
their
yeah,
high
they had an
school. And I
accreditation.
brought that to the PTG on Wednesday night, last week. And there's actually a mother who's quite interested, and we're gonna exchange some information.
Good.
And Kendra kind of hooked me into the performing arts committee, in that she's sending me information regularly on it, on when they meet and what they're doing, and it's amazing how many things they have to explore with lighting and wiring and sound, and what kind of material you have on the floor, and what kind of curtains you have, and the Performing Arts Center is gonna be fabulous. It'll be great to have something like that in Sanford, where outside performing groups can come in and perform
But
in the
even we could probably
community
end up
and-
using it if we have a drama club, stuff like that.
You bet.
I think it'd be
Yeah.
good to get involved with that.
And the seating was gonna be, how many? 900 and something?
Almost
Yeah.
1,000. I think it's important for the Acton community as well as the school committee to think in terms of, we're about 10% of Sanford High School's population. They're roughly 800 students, and we roughly send 80 to 100 kids a year to Sanford. So we're about 10% of their population
Yeah.
base. So it really does make sense as they make some decisions that we are represented where they've offered us seats at the table.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get the word out for Acton citizens to get involved if they have time.
Put it in your new newsletter.
That's right.
One of the really neat things that I liked about the new school setup too is that kids who generally would not get involved at all in some of the skilled classes of what used to be called voc classes, tech classes, or whatever. But now they're gonna be in an area, they can decide kind of which area if they might be interested in the health field, or if they might be interested in business, or if they might be
Building
interested in
trades.
building trades or something like that. They will be getting their academics and a chance to explore some of those skill areas at the same time. They won't have to decide if they wanna be one or the other. So I think that's one of the real pluses of this new setup that they've got for the high school, which will also have a culinary art department, and they will be serving things. They'll have like a little restaurant and coffee shop there that the culinary art class will be taken care of, and special ed kids are gonna be well integrated too into this whole process, so it's really cool. It's very exciting to know our kids are gonna have those opportunities. Anything else on Sanford High School? Nope. All right, then we'll move on to 9-3.
Okay, that would be the hiring of a second grade teacher. So for the last few months, I've been giving you some information in regards to what we're doing with the big class size of 27 students in the second grade. And early on, I recognized as I joined AES that is a problematic size class for this school. We've done a number of things that I think have worked a little bit, and as I reflect on those, they may just be kind of Band-Aid approaches to doing what we can with current staff. We've looked at reorganizing the schedule for the second grade. We've looked at kind of doing a group A, 2A, and a group 2B, which has its own inherent challenges. When 2A is off at art, 2B might be with Miss McCabe, the teacher, and then when they come back, they need the same lesson and instruction while they were at art. So it's almost, in theory, doubling up some of her instruction while the kids aren't with her. Although, day to day, she can do 27 kids in her room with ed tech support and as many people as I can move, allowing the schedule, and the staff here have been fantastic. I mean, it was not a forced march. It's, what can we do to help Riley with that big second grade? And people have been awesome, just to say that right at the front end. But after I've looked at this a number of ways, and after I've had some parents reach out to me about the size of the class, looking at the 20 student class size policy we have, it is my recommendation now that we're about, we're at winter break, which theoretically feels like halfway through the year, but we're not really halfway through the year. We'll be halfway through the year around mid-February, that we act now to put an ad in and interview and look for a second grade teacher to divide that class up. My timeline would be, with approval from you tonight, would be then to start working with the staff on all the details about bringing a new person in, which I kind of have some plans that I would disclose and work with people starting tomorrow with a positive vote on this. And then run an ad on serving schools to try to look for, December graduates from the university. I was a December graduate. I know other people that graduated, they did their student teaching and they're available, what's available in January for a job? Well, usually not much. So we may find some quality candidates out there, and I would post the job as year only, okay? So even though it's not 1 year, it's really a 6-month position. I think if we did it right, we could probably hire around Martin Luther King weekend. That third week of January seems to be about the timeline that works with a positive vote tonight through the last day of school. And then repost the job in May when teaching positions open. And if we hired somebody in January that was a good candidate and he or she decided to apply for that position, certainly could. It would actually be almost like a 6-month interview. It would be a real good shoo-in for somebody if they're good. But to put that ad back out there in May for all of the people that are looking for teaching positions, which is generally May, June, April, May, June, and then see how that goes. So it would be a year-only position advertised as that, salary and benefits, to get us through the end of the year. We clearly would have to make some changes to our schedule, which I think we're prepared to do. I've looked at that and worked with a small group of people. We may have to change some classroom space, which I kind of have a blueprint that I would then need to work with people and move on with a positive vote. But I think we would be fine getting out of the rest of this year to serve those second grade students as best we can. So with that, I've had individual conversations with some of you that asked me some questions, and I've been emailing you in my weekly update what my thinking has been up to this point so that there wouldn't be any surprises.
Well, my thing was, I
Yeah.
didn't know we had budgeted for
Right.
2,
That was a great question.
second grade teachers, so we
So it's
have
there.
the money.
We do, and Kim can, that was the first question. I went to Kim, said, where are we? And Kim's has always done a great job at what we have and her projections and where we need to be, and it doesn't look like we're gonna have any issues there.
And then we would budget next year for possibly a third grade teacher.
I
correct?
think as I develop this budget with you, you'll see I will put in for a full-time third grade teacher to be part of the operational budget for FY18, yeah. 'Cause
But
that group
I'd
of
like it
kids-
to be stated that, when we made, when we started this year, we didn't have 27 kids there. How many kids did we have? 22 or something?
I would have to go back and look without saying it
But
was
it
exactly
wasn't-
22.
It was just slightly over.
And then we
Yeah.
just
Just
kept
slightly
getting
over.
people
Really
coming in,
close.
and it
Correct.
happened to be second grade, so.
Every time somebody new showed up, I'm like, so what grade are you in? And they said second. I said, how about that? Yeah.
And next week, it's the same story. So, anybody else have anything they want to discuss on this?
Well, I don't
before we put
understand
it to
how you
vote?
would say it's for a year.
It was 1 year only. Those postings are fairly typical from a school when, I'll give you for instance, a perceived maternity leave where somebody knows they're going to leave and they're going to have a baby, say, about now, and they have enough time off to get them through summer, and they're coming back in September. So schools will often post a 1 year only position to just finish the school year for this person who's taking a leave. So the
But it's
person
clearly stated.
in the ad and in the interview, this is a 1 year only position.
No, but-
Remainder.
Like, I'd like
Remainder of
to
the school year.
Remainder of the
say,
school year.
yeah.
Remainder, it's called 1 year, but I think remainder
Okay.
of the school year is
Remainder
Just-
probably the best way to advertise for that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
was just trying to think of the motion. I don't want to do a year when we only want them here 6 months.
because this really is not a year, that's correct. It would be remainder of this school year through June, last day of school.
No, no, I
Remainder of this
misrepresent.
school fiscal year, the
Yeah.
fiscal school year.
Okay, so then I'll look for a motion.
All right, so I'll make the motion to hire a second grade teacher with the contract stating for the remainder of this school fiscal year.
I'll second that, is that it? In other words?
It's moved and seconded that we authorize the superintendent to begin advertising for a second grade teacher to complete this school year.
Now,
Any, yeah,
I'm just gonna
discussion.
say, I mean, I know the school knows why we need another teacher. Is there any other explanation that you need to give the public?
I think
Or
the
have they
only-
got enough?
I
what
think,
you just
I
said?
think the explanation is pretty simple, really, in that we've had an influx of second graders come in during the school year. We set a policy that we were gonna try to stick to as close as possible, to a 20 classroom size in our classes. And I think we've really worked hard to try to make it work. John has come up with some good solutions this far, but I think if we're really gonna do what's in the best interest of our kids, which is what our policy always is to do, we need to break that class up so that the kids have better opportunities all around.
Right, and just so, in case anybody watches this
You
on
bet.
TV, then.
And anticipating a positive vote on this, just so you know, my plan is to write a memo this evening that will go in a sealed envelope to the parents of those children,
Oh.
because it's now a public discussion. And I want the parents to understand that in dividing up that class, that'll be a team effort based on some guidelines that we've developed. And that if they have any questions to see me, I'd like to try to let the teacher be peaceful and teach and learn, and I'll handle any questions in regards to who's going where and how. But now that we're having this public discussion, I'll reach out to just those parents
Yeah.
via their kid's
Definitely.
backpack. Yeah. So that'll be helpful, I think, for the parents of that group.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And Merry Christmas. They'll be happy, the parents will be happy.
Yeah.
I heard about one parent, so.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion? 4-0. And I see number 10 coming up as,
Adjournment.
Adjournment.
I'll make the motion, whatever time it says there.
yeah, just hold on just a second.
Just, I wrote down a couple of notes. It's so funny, I'm always looking for these little pockets to throw some things in. and,
Do it, do it.
So, just a couple things.
You can talk where it says comments from the
Yeah, I guess I
public.
could I? Right up front? Thank you, Mary. I didn't even, I'll sit over there and come right back.
You telling him he missed his chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, sorry, Mr. Ross. I just want the public to know, and this will be going out via an email and probably a backpack letter home, is that we're gonna do our first lockdown drill this week. And it's gonna be very public. Every school in the nation now does regular lockdowns, and through the crisis response team, we've kind of learned that doing monthly here makes sense, starting in January. So we're gonna do a practice drill Thursday of this week, Thursday morning. And that way for the youngest kids and the kids who've never been to Acton before, they can kind of do a pre-lesson in why we do this. And it's not to be scary, it's to be safe. So I'm gonna send that communication out tomorrow about a Thursday lockdown drill. I've learned if you don't get ahead of what a drill is, people make up their own ideas of why the school locked down. And we're locking down as a practice so that, you know, hopefully we never have to, but if we ever did have to lock down, we know how to do it safely. So I'm starting that drill on Thursday, and the kids will learn. Then moving forward in January, each month, we will have a lockdown drill, but it may not be announced. The best way to practice is when you're having a regular day, and then you hear that announcement, we're going into a lockdown drill, and kids just automatically, and teachers automatically know what to do. So we're gonna create that starting this week. Also, I really want to thank Andy and everybody who helps Andy. Boy, that snow came down Monday. Andy and I are talking at 4 in.the morning, you know, and just spot on. I came in Tuesday, and this place is great, and I'm sure you were out there with your tractor just loving every snowflake. But thank you. I pulled in not knowing what I was going to get, and man, did this place look good.
Yeah, the
So
custodians are a huge help.
I'm
too.
just telling you,
They-
sometimes you don't thank
Yeah.
yourself enough, and I want to publicly know. You do a great job, Andy.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. And lastly, I just wanted to say to the community, happy holidays. And I feel it's a blessing to be here, and it's a wonderful school, and everybody's very excited for the upcoming break. And I won't see publicly like this on camera, but just to say happy holidays, and I hope everybody has a restful and warm holiday break.
And to come to Thursday's concert.
And come to Thursday's concert.
Concert,
Yes.
6
You wanna
o'clock.
get in the
6
mood.
o'clock, I will be there.
The preview Friday at Assembly was incredible. The kids were so adorable. Absolutely adorable.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
And there'll be Shane's ice cream.
That's right.
Gotta
It'll
come.
we're expecting a full house for Thursday night. We hope everybody comes out.
What time Thursday night?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Oh, you didn't make the joke.
I worked up here this year.
Okay,
Okay, now can I adjourn?
Thank you, Mary, yes.
motion to adjourn by Mary, seconded by
Me.
Amanda. All those in favor?
And we never saw Kevin.
And that's it.
He said hello, by the way. He was on the flight. I chatted with him.
And for Jen, that's 6:59 adjournment. Okay.
Okay.
Very good, just under an hour.
I don't